Back-to-school vaccination requirements are still in force. Tacoma Public Utilities is being proactive when it comes to potential scams, and the Center for Urban Waters is marking a big milestone. All that and more coming up next on Tacoma Report. Hi, and welcome to this edition of Tacoma Report. I'm Angie Foster. Medical officials are reminding everyone that even though school is now in session and being conducted remotely, school district vaccine requirements are still in force. This means that children were supposed to have all of their vaccinations up to date when the school year started.
It is important that we continue to keep our children immunized, because the last thing we need right now would be, say, a measles outbreak or another vaccine preventable disease outbreak. And even though we are social distancing, kids are starting to play together and interact, go to the grocery store. So if enough kids get behind on their immunizations, we could be looking at another outbreak of, say, measles or whooping cough. Besides just the vaccinations, it's still really important for children to come in and get their well checkups. It's really important to make sure kids are on track with their growth and development. And if they're behind in, say, speech or their motor skills, therapies are still open. Some are virtual, but things can be done. And mental health. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot more anxiety and depression in our youth. And we screen for that when we see them in the office. So, waiting 6 or 12 months to come in for your well checkup, you could be missing out on some things that are important to catch early on. So I'd really encourage, after about age 3, children should come in once a year. When they're babies, they come in more often to get those vaccines and to have their development checked.
More information on the immunization requirements for school-age children can be found by going to the Washington State Department of Health website. The City of Tacoma has been doing budget outreach as part of its biennial budget planning process. This year's format and budget engagement has far exceeded previous performance despite being online. Approximately 3,200 surveys representing a cross-section of Tacoma, with more than 850 balanced budget simulations submitted from across the city's zip codes and demographics. City staff is currently working on options for continued community feedback over the next month, in addition to the planned outreach process on the proposed budget occurring in October and November. The City of Tacoma will be coordinating with other community engagement efforts that are planned to take place in the month of September to ensure good participation in all of the city's outreach efforts. For updates, please visit the city's budget website or follow us on social media. Just 2 months ago, we introduced you to the Tacoma Police Department's new canines, and sadly, one of them was killed in the line of duty. Rania was tragically shot during the pursuit and the capture of an armed suspect who was being sought after for a homicide that occurred just a few hours earlier in the city of Tacoma. She sacrificed herself to save the life of her partner and her fellow officers. Canine Rania was a 2-year-old German Shepherd and worked with her handler, Officer Seiler. In July of this year, she made headlines for tracking and capturing a suspect who broke into the Boys and Girls Club. Canine Rania found the fleeing suspect's trail, located the suspect, and recovered several stolen computers. Following the arrest, children at the Boys and Girls Club held a celebration for Rania to thank her for helping recover their laptops. Canines hold a very special place in the public's hearts. Their loyalty, bravery, and dedication is inspiring. Rania was given her name in her birth country, the Czech Republic, and it means bringing victory. To the Tacoma Police Department, Rania will forever mean bringing valor. We are all eternally grateful for her service. To learn more about Rania, visit the website listed on the screen. The Tacoma Art Museum has announced that it will continue to remain closed for in-person visits for the near future due to COVID-19, but their digital and online programs will still be accessible. Since going totally online in March, TAM has doubled its website traffic. With school back in session, the museum is now offering virtual school tours to students and parents. Currently, 70% of the paintings, sculptures, and creations that are normally on display at the museum's physical location can be viewed by going to their e-museum website. The Tacoma Art Museum continues to stay in contact with the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department to determine when it will be safe for visitors to return to the museum. Due to current COVID-19 restrictions, a virtual format of the City of Destiny Awards ceremony will be released on multiple platforms. The new format will highlight all of this year's awardees and feature local performers. The pre-recorded video event will premiere on Saturday, September 12th at 6 p.m. right here on TV Tacoma. The event will also be streamed on Facebook Live. For a full list of award recipients or for more information on the event, visit the City of Destiny Awards page on the city's website. Utility customers now have the upper hand against scammers thanks to tracking data they've given to their local utility. Tacoma Public Utilities has been tracking customer phone calls about utility scams for the last year. Every time a customer calls about a scam, TPU submits a ticket online with as much information as they can get. A second team from the utility has been looking at the data to find a pattern, and they have. They predict a sophisticated utility scam is going to hit our area very soon.
They've done things that make them look and sound like Tacoma Public Utilities. When they call people, it looks like the number is coming from us. They've set up audio recordings that are very similar to ours. They're very smart, but we're smarter.
The utility has been sending out proactive messages for the past few weeks, hoping to warn their customers before they get the phone call. TPU will never call a customer demanding immediate payment or threatening disconnection. If you receive an automated phone call claiming to be TPU and demanding immediate payment, hang up. The utility says they understand that times are tough right now for everyone. It's why they have committed to not disconnect service due to non-payment during the state of emergency. If you or someone you know is behind on their utility bills, TPU says to call. They have a number of payment assistance options that could help you. Washington State's mail-in balloting started with a few counties in 2005, followed by the rest of the state counties in 2011. Roughly 3.4 million Washington voters vote by mail. Another voting alternative is a drop box. Pierce County has 47 ballot drop boxes with about a dozen in the Tacoma area. Drop boxes provide a 24 hours a day option during the 18-day voting period. Voting officials recommend voters use these boxes beginning October 20th through November 3rd, 2020 for the general election. Pierce County Elections urges voters to be prepared, not delay, and cast their ballot as soon as possible. And finally, a decade ago, a grand opening was held for a center that houses a unique partnership around environmental planning and science. Now the Center for Urban Waters is celebrating 10 years in operations. Stacey Elliford has more on this innovative space.
Located next to the shining waters of the Theophos Waterway is a building designed to be flexible and adaptable to house many environmental disciplines. The Center for Urban Waters held its grand opening ceremony in September 2010 on the heels of a monumental cleanup of the waterway. A partnership came together to demonstrate a commitment to keeping these waters in the Puget Sound clean.
So Urban Waters combines scientists and engineers from the city of Tacoma, researchers from the University of Washington, and policymakers from Puget Sound Partnership, which is the state agency responsible for the cleanup of Puget Sound. So that allows a greater collaboration between the groups. One of the important things to come out of that was ability to fingerprint chemicals. So from a water sample, we can characterize a pollutant enough so that we can trace the actual source location of it.
This center houses the greatest concentration of scientists, engineers, and researchers in the city and possibly in the state, all working on essential environmental issues.
Environmental Services is responsible for operating the laboratory, as well as a lot of the monitoring and the capital projects that are built by the Environmental Services Division. The Office of Environmental Policy and Sustainability, we're primarily focused on climate work, but we also look at increasing the overall sustainability and livability of Tacoma.
There have been a number of projects that have come out of this center.
One that we like to highlight is a regional green infrastructure project located up at Point Defiance. It's got national attention for treating stormwater coming from the north end of the city before discharging into Puget Sound.
When it opened a decade ago, the center was one of the first LEED Platinum laboratory buildings in the United States.
And what that means is it used a lot of innovative technologies 10 years ago, things like green roofs and recycled water and recycled materials. And it was a real challenge for the builders and designers at the time. Much of that's become pretty common in the industry now, largely because of the LEED program kind of drove the industry towards building new things. So the Center for Urban Waters was innovative in the sense of driving the construction industry into green buildings.
A lot of these features are considered passive green infrastructure that brings power and water savings just from the design of the building. Laboratory space is also a hybrid model, with partners sharing some spaces and using others exclusively.
So the UW-Tacoma group at the Center for Urban Waters is a group of faculty and research scientists and students, graduate students and undergraduate students enrolled at the University of Washington. And they do a variety of different research projects, all kind of built around the questions of water quality, particularly in urban areas, as the name implies. So we have state-of-the-art analytical facilities, great laboratories, and that allows us to measure all kinds of chemicals and other things in the waters of Puget Sound and beyond.
An interesting feature of the Center for Urban Waters is the common goal of these three groups of protecting the Puget Sound, but all having a different perspective.
So the university is a research organization. We're trying to develop new techniques, new technologies, discover new issues. The partnership does a lot of planning, and they think sort of at a regional scale about how this all comes together. And then the city is the real pragmatic, practical, on the ground, taking samples and putting in green infrastructure. And those three groups work really well together, and we're highly compatible, right? Like we're different, but we have the same missions.
For Tacoma Report, I'm Stacey Illifrit.
Check out the Center for Urban Waters website to find out more about these partnerships and the work they're doing to restore and protect the Puget Sound. That's all the time we have on this edition of Tacoma Report. A great way to find out about the services the City of Tacoma has to offer is by going to cityoftacoma.org. Until next time, I'm Angie Foster. Thanks for watching.